Good morning and welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today as always. And today's topic is going to be the Freedom Convoy in Canada. The reason I brought that up is because I just happened to see this video by, what is his name? He's got Mr. Sunshine Baby. He puts these little short clips on here. And I normally don't like when women speak in public like they're really forceful and dominant. But this lady, she's a black woman, African American, I'm assuming, if that's the politically correct term nowadays. And she is powerful. I tell you what, she's something. I'm going to play a little bit of it later so you can hear what she says. And I would say go there and listen to what she says. She speaks about freedom and about dropping the mandates and about our government. And I was really impressed by her, as well as I'm sure other people were too, because we've gotten to where the government has controlled us so much. And of course, it's all for our own good. Like, you don't really have the right to decide what's good for you. It's like they have to think for us. Okay, and we all need to be thinking for ourselves. She also speaks about how in school, she was actually a professional teacher for I don't know how many years. And she said they've quit schooling a long time ago. They just teach people to stay in line, to conform. And I have to say, I must agree with her. So she's really on point with a lot of this stuff. Let's play just a little bit of it. You can hear it. I don't know how to put the videos in there so where you can see it. And I don't even know if I could without infringing on this gentleman's rights here, but let's play it and see.
To leave this place empowered. You understand? It's not good enough to just come here and listen to speeches and go back home and get comfortable again. We are at war. We are at war for our family, our children, our lives. The 14th Amendment gives us due process. It guarantees us equal protection under the law. So why in the world are the unvaccinated being treated differently than the vaccinated? It is the new segregation. It is the new discrimination.
Now that's something I never thought about, was treating the vaccinated and the unvaccinated differently. It is a form of segregation. Of course, it's all for your own good to keep us safe, correct? I have nothing against vaccination. Some of my friends are vaccinated. That's fine. If they want to get vaccinated and they think that helps them, and if it does, that's great. I have nothing against that. I'm not saying you should get vaccinated or you shouldn't get vaccinated. That's not for me to say. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying that what she's talking about is correct. They treat us differently, the people that are vaccinated and the unvaccinated. That in itself is a form of segregation, which I'm sure she's aware of because we used to have segregation between the blacks and the whites. I grew up during the 60s and we had a lot of that. There was a lot of the race wars going on, and I remember how it was during that. Now, we didn't have segregation here where I live, but in reality, it was to a certain degree because we had the black part of town and the white part of town. And I don't remember ever going in a place where they couldn't, where they only had white bathrooms, but I think farther down south, and there were certain towns where I lived where African Americans weren't supposed to be in that town after dark. So I grew up during that crap, and things are so much different now. And I grew up with a father who was very prejudiced. I love my father, but he was very prejudiced, okay? And I picked that up too until I started boxing, and it's all fear, really, because you don't know what African American people are like, and maybe they don't know what you're like as a white person because you never mixed together. So, but when I started boxing, I worked out with a lot of black guys, and guess what? They were just like me. Some of them really helped me out, and some of them were jerks and tried to beat the crap out of me, just like the white guys did, okay? No difference. So I came to a different understanding. Although they have a different culture, and my culture is different, we're all human. We're all really the same. I mean, we may have different thoughts, about different things, but basically we're all the same. Okay, some of those guys were just great to me. Okay, and some of them were kind of jerks to me. So what's the difference? I've had white people that were great to me, and I have white people that were jerks to me. So it really helped me to actually to be, how do you call it? To be with them. So I came to understand that they're not different, and I'm not different. The color of our skin is the only thing that's really different, and maybe some different cultural attitudes we have when we're grown up, which are learned, just like my prejudice was learned. It's a programming is what it was. So let's go on to hear what she's got to say. And sometimes I think that about men and women too. I mean, I believe we are different. Men and women are different, of course, but we are still human, and I do believe we're equal in the eyes of God or divinity, universe, however you want to call your higher power. But sometimes we need to look at the similarities more so than we need to look at the differences. We need to recognize the differences, of course, but we don't need to recognize them to the point where we think that any of us is better. We're just different. Let's see what else she has to say here.
And we have to stop it. Government for the people, by the people, will not be destroyed. We have to recognize our power. We are magistrates. What is happening here today, what is happening around our state and in our city, is people are invoking the doctrine of the lesser magistrates. And most of you probably don't even understand what that is. And don't even understand what I'm talking about. Well, the doctrine of the lesser magistrates is the doctrine upon which this country was founded. It is the basis of the 10th Amendment, which says that any authority that is not given to the federal government is reserved.
Somebody came in here. I thought I was getting interrupted. Yeah, the people, the government is for the people. It was made by the people, but yet the government, and I think this happens in all societies. If you look throughout history, the government becomes so powerful that it's not so much for the people anymore. It's almost like it's the people against the government. Now, I've lived in other countries where they've had protests and they burn cars, people get killed. It's a whole different thing there. And if we don't get things squared away between the people and the government here, I'm fearful that we may start having some of those same things here, because the government is getting to where they are trying to control us so much, and people will only be pushed so far. We may have a lot of people that are afraid to do anything, but if you back a chicken in the corner, that chicken's gonna fight if it has nothing else to do, if it has no other way out. And then also she talks about forcing these vaccinations on the people that don't want them, okay? Or that are afraid to take them, or for whatever reason. And she compares that to the same thing as being raped, because they're putting something in her body that she does not want.
Deserve to the states. And if our local leaders fail to protect its citizens and fails to step between a tyrannical federal government and its citizens, fails to protect the rights of its citizens, then those rights and authority is extended and given to the people. We, the people, is how the Constitution starts. A magistrate is a person that operates under authority. They have power. There are higher magistrates and there are lesser magistrates. The founding fathers of this country understood that there's going to come a point in time where the federal government will need to be checked. If not, they will become tyrants. And that is what's happening now. So, the Declaration of Independence says that...
And we don't want to be, we don't want the government against the people. We want to all work together. And I see that a lot in Congress. It seems like we have the Republicans against the Democrats. It's not like we're supposed to be a country united. United we stand, divided we fall. And we have such division. We have division against people, against races, against genders, against, we have the, against the straights, the gays. There's so much of a division in the U.S. We have all these people that come here. We all came here from another country, and we have all these different languages. We don't even have a common bond anymore. We at least need to speak the same language. I lived in another country for 6 years. I learned that language because it's hard enough to communicate when you don't know that. I mean, even when you have the same language, communication is difficult. But when we have different languages and people can't speak the same language, it makes it almost impossible. So that brings on more division. All through my school years, we would say the Pledge of Allegiance? I can't remember one of them. United we stand, divided we fall. I'm not sure where that's at, but and it's so true. We have to stay together. It's like a basketball team. If we have a basketball team that's not working together, what happens? That team loses. And us as a country, if we don't all work together, regardless of whether race, color, creed, or sexual orientation, we are going to destroy ourselves. We will implode. We will be destructed from within by our own selves. We won't have to worry about another country coming here and destroying us. We will do it to ourselves. And it's not the people against the government or the government against the people. It's just what happens as governments and nations and people grow. We need to find a way to come back together and work together, all of us, men, women, government, people, organizations, institutions, big institutions. We all need to work together for all of our own good. Not just for the good of the individual, but for the group, for the welfare of the country has to come first. Well, how does that work? I can't remember there's a phrase for that, but united we stand, divided we fall. So if we don't all stay together, we can't stand alone, okay? The reason we can go out in public today fairly safe is because we have police. I know here a while back they wanted to defund the police. I don't know where that came from, but if we do that, I guarantee you won't be safe in your house at night if you are now. I've lived in a country that had 20,000 policemen. They needed 40,000. When you lock yourself up in the house at night, it's like being inside of a safe. Nobody's getting into your house unless they have a torch, a battering ram, or a tank. That's how dangerous. You got bars on the windows. Everything is locked in. You can't leave anything outside or it will get stolen. Cars get broken into constantly. I mean, it's just a constant threat. When you're out there, you have to constantly be watching because you may get robbed. So, and then there again, we're trying some force or entity, or maybe we're doing it to ourselves, are trying to divide the people against the police. We have to come together. It can't be us against them. I know I grew up thinking the police were the enemy, but they're not. Now we have some bad policemen. Sure we do, and police women, probably more bad policemen. But in general, most of them are here. They start out and they're here to serve us, to help us. And the same as the government. Their original idea and their goal is to serve the people. They are servants. Okay, but I know it seems like they're getting kind of tyrannical and controlling, and I must agree it seems like they are. But somehow we have to find a way to come back together as a country, or we will not be able to stand. And as I said, I'm not against the government. I'm not against any people, a race, religion, or creed. I've been out of the country, out of the U.S. over 30 times. I've met a lot of different people from different parts of the world, different cultures, different races. And we're all humans. And if we don't find a way to come together, even in this world, we will self-destruct. We come close to that back in the 60s. I grew up in the duck and cover because we just knew Russia was going to shoot missiles at us from Cuba. Okay, I grew up in that fear. I had that fear till I was 20. It was instilled in me. Sometimes I didn't even want to do anything because I thought, what's the use? We're going to blow the world up anyway. It's going to be a nuclear holocaust. Okay, we don't want our children growing up like that. We need to do something different. We need to treat each other as not as enemies, but as equals. Equals in respect to equal humanity. Men, women, everybody, children, races, cultures, creeds. We may have different beliefs, different religions, different ways of raising our children, different ways of working, of dealing, of business. But we're all human beings. We all share one thing in common. We live on this planet. And we have to find a way to live together and work together. Okay, that's all I got. That's my rant for today. But anyway, if you'd like to get my help personally, you can contact me at marksinspirationalguidance@gmail.com. My website is marksinspiration.com. Smash that like button now and subscribe. And I will see you tomorrow.